Welcome. If you haven't done so already, please watch our tutorial series on making great entries for individual historical and cultural sites in Clio. Once there are enough entries in a particular area, you can create a complete walking or driving tour. For example, imagine you want to explore the history of the American Revolution in Boston. You can't do that with only one entry. Tours can help you guide visitors through a holistic historical experience, spanning a particular area, several cities, or all the way across the country. This could be the ultimate road trip, or simply a way to explore a topic. So whether it's to share with others or just for your own adventure, let's make a tour together, and you'll see how simple it can be. Here on the Clio main page is a button labeled Create a Tour. Clicking on that button will bring you here. If you are using a personal account, you will see 3 types of tours to choose from. Walking tours usually include multiple entries and cover a 1 or 2 mile area throughout a neighborhood. Driving or biking tours are perfect for citywide thematic sites and cover longer distances than are easily walkable. You can also create tours that focus on specific themes like statewide history markers or regional trails. While these may be too large to complete in an afternoon, they can be a great educational resource because you can explore history using Clio from anywhere in the world. If you are using an institutional account, you will see 3 additional tour options. A digital story map tour is similar to a thematic trail, but offers the option of adding contributing entries. Personal accounts can't currently add contributing entries, so if you're interested in this feature, we encourage you to contact your local historical society, library, or other nearby organizations to explore using an institutional account. Contributing entries highlight other places of note within a single entry. This helps us to create a tour without overwhelming people with too many pins on the map. These entries can help highlight locations or markers within a larger landmark, like a cemetery, battlefield, or historical building. For example, it makes sense to have only one pin on the larger map for West Virginia's Droop Mountain Battlefield State Park. But nested inside that entry, you can add shorter contributing entries for the lookout tower, museum, and important landmarks of the battle. This will make it easy for visitors to find their way to the highlights after they arrive. Our virtual museum or site tour allows organizations to create tours with multiple stops within a single building using contributing entries. This allows for multi-layer tours that cover points of interest that a standalone entry might miss. We will cover this tour type in more detail in a later video. Our final tour type is for hiking trails. These tours are perfect for exploring state parks, national parks, or nature trails. For this video, we're very excited to make a driving tour about the 7 Sisters, the last surviving pre-Civil War houses in Charleston, West Virginia. Type in the address where you'd like to start your tour and move the pin to the location where you'd like it to begin. This will also be the place where your tour appears on the map, so be sure to think carefully about where to pin your tour. When you're ready, click Next. Starting at the location where you pinned the tour, Clio will make a list of the entries for historical sites nearest to the pin. Remember, people like you have contributed each entry to the Clio database, and you'll want to create all the entries you need for the tour before anything else. You can browse through the list, or if you know exactly what you're looking for, you can type the name into the search field. Choose a wider search radius if you think the place you're looking for might be further than 25 miles from the location where you pinned the tour. If you're making a tour for public use, it's best to come up with your list of entries ahead of time so you don't leave anything out. I know from my research that the McFarland Hubbard House in Charleston is one of the 7 Sisters. So now that I've found it, I can click on that listing to add it to my tour. Clicking the listing adds it to your tour entries itinerary underneath the map on the left. And look, a pin appears on the map showing where the entry is located. Once an entry has been added to the tour, the listing will disappear, so you can't accidentally add the same place twice. Let's add more locations to our tour. If you add a location by mistake, you can always send it back to the list by clicking on the trash icon next to the entry in your itinerary. Now all 7 sisters are in my tour. However, the order in which I added them may not be the ideal sequence in which to visit them. No problem. The number of the pin on the map corresponds to the site's place in the tour sequence. So all I have to do is change the order of the list. To do this, either click on the arrows next to an entry to move it 1 slot up or down in the tour, or click and drag it to another slot. Everything underneath its new slot will shift one number later in the sequence. Watch the map. The numbers on the pins will update automatically. Compare the original itinerary order with our final version. We've optimized the final tour to be logical and navigable, so visitors can drive or walk easily from place to place once Google Maps calculates the directions. For some themed tours, such as a Civil War military campaign, the order can be both logical and chronological, but in many cases, it's best to arrange your itinerary to produce the simplest directions. This will result in more visitors using and appreciating your tour. An itinerary that is chaotic and complicated will result in fewer visitors. If you've optimized your tour for driving, the walking directions might look a little odd, or vice versa. If you intend the tour to favor one of these modes of travel, as is often the case, it may be a good idea to make note of that in the title or summary. When you're happy with the entries and sequence of your tour, click Next. Almost done. Let's give our tour a name in the title field. Then give it a brief description. A few complete sentences describing the tour and including some of the highlights is usually sufficient, but you might also want to offer some background information on Charleston's history and also explain the meaning of the phrase Seven Sisters. Don't forget to pick a thumbnail image for your tour. Select an image from the list of entries in the Choose the Thumbnail Image section. The last step is whether to make the tour public for others to enjoy or simply add it to your Clio account as a tour for your own use. For example, you might create a personal itinerary and save it as a private walking tour called Places I Want to See in Charleston. That tour won't appear on the map where others can see it, but it will be saved in your account profile for personal use. But if you've worked hard to create a walking tour that is sure to appeal to a large audience, or if you've built a tour around a specific historical theme, such as the Seven Sisters or Nashville's African American history, or even if you've created a walking tour that makes the history of your town come alive, you can make it public and it will show up on the map. Pick the option you prefer for your tour. You can change it later if you like. Make sure you do this, because if you navigate away from your tour before you save anything, all your progress will be lost. Now you're looking at your finished tour. The route between all your sites is automatically calculated by Google Maps and displayed to any visitors. With Clio, you can select walking or driving directions as determined by Google Maps. If someone loves your tour but wants to make their own version with some changes, they can click Edit and save a copy. Don't worry though. This will create a new tour using yours as a template. It won't change your original tour. If you'd like to do this, to create a custom version of someone's tour for yourself, it's probably best to save this as a private tour in your account, so there aren't dozens of similar tours in one place. And remember, if you want to make changes to your tour, click on Edit this tour. This will take you back to the page where you first added entries to your tour. Just repeat the steps as if you were first putting the tour together, except that all the sites you've added before will already be there. You can easily find, access, or edit your tours at any time by clicking on your profile, which is accessible whenever you're logged into your account. Each of your tours are listed at the bottom of your profile underneath all the entries you've worked on. Each tour has its own URL, making it easy to share a tour on social media or a website. Clio is free for everyone thanks to donations from users like you, and we hope to add new features in the future. Thanks for watching.